Hi, this is Ali Nojosa from Choose Positive. Today I am very happy to welcome best-selling author Kate Northurp. Hi, Northurp. Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Choose Positive.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Our pleasure. The intention for this interview is to give an introduction of how we can create a loving relationship with money and how we can find our own value. So, Kate, to start this off, we would love to hear about your money story, no, and how for the people who are not familiar with you, and how you got yourself into debt and then out of it.
Yeah, so I started a business in the network marketing industry when I was 18 with a company called USANA, and I did very well with that company. And when I was at the end of college, at the end of my university, after 4 years, so I was 22, I moved to New York City and I had a good income from my business, but I didn't pay any attention to my expenses. And so even though my income was steady, my expenses kept rising and I wasn't paying any attention. And so I wasn't opening my credit card statements. I wasn't really looking at my bills. I paid them, but I didn't really realize how much more money I was spending than how much I made
Yeah.
because I just wasn't adding it up. And then I had like an emotional anxiety happening, feeling like there was something wrong and knowing that I was acting out of integrity, actually, because I knew that I was spending more than I made, and I was reading a lot of personal finance books and reading a lot of spirituality books. And so I knew I was had a lack of integrity. And it was sort of as though I was building this business and being successful, and on the outside I was portraying one image, but behind the scenes there was this other image, and I started to feel really bad about myself. And so there was also, I had gone into business with my mom, and that wasn't really feeling great anymore. I felt very trapped, and she and I didn't have great communication at the time. And so there were just a lot of self-worth issues, all lining up at the same time. And I realized that if I really wanted to step into self-love and taking good care of myself, that I had to include my financial life and my career life in that. It couldn't just be going to get a pedicure,
Right.
or, sleeping in. Like, self-care had to encompass my financial life as well. And so when I began to treat my financial life and taking care of myself financially as a form of self-love and as an avenue for taking care of myself, then things shifted pretty dramatically. I got out of that business partnership with my mom that was not working, and our relationship is better than ever. I was able to pay off my debt in a couple of months.
Wow.
And double my income and double my savings. So
Wow.
it really made a huge shift, doing some practical financial awareness practices that I had known about before, but I could never stick with because I hadn't included that ingredient of self-love and doing it from a place of taking care of myself. Up until that point, I had always felt that financial awareness or financial consciousness or budgeting or any of that, I was doing it from a place of guilt, and doing it from a place of trying to get myself whipped into shape, which is a very different energy than doing
Right.
it from a place of love.
Right, and here at Choose Positive, we talk a lot about the power of our choices, and so you choose self-love in relation to money and finances. So how do you say that happened? Because you've been living your life a certain way, and there was a point where you chose self-love in terms of finance and money. So how did that happen?
Well, the moment that it happened, I became aware of it. I was working with Barbara Stanny, who wrote a great book called Overcoming Underearning. And I was in her course, and I was on an airplane one day, and I was doing some of the exercises from her book. And I was doing some journaling and writing about what was going on with my money and why I couldn't seem to take positive action steps towards getting it together. And it just came to me that if I were to approach it from a place of fun and pleasure and love, that maybe I would actually do it. And it worked. So, that was the moment. I was on this airplane writing in my journal, and my life had become uncomfortable. We don't change until we're in discomfort. And it became too hard to be one way in public and one way in private. And I really wanted to be proud of how I was paying attention to my money. So I made a shift.
Yeah, and Kate, you're not the typical money teacher. You approach it from a very different angle. And I love it because it has to do a lot with self-love, going within, and all of that. So for the people who are watching, can you please tell us a little bit more about why is it important that we have to go within to improve our finances?
Well, so because money is just a form of stand-in for what we value, we actually earn money in exchange for the value we provide in the world. And so when we don't value ourselves and our self-worth is off, our financial lives will be off as well. And so really coming to terms with some of our money story and what we learned about money and ourselves growing up is really important, and doing some healing work around that, which may be doing some journaling. It may be, having some difficult conversations. It's a little bit different for each person, but really being willing to look at what past situations and what past emotions and what stage of life did we get stuck at in our money story, and who's really running the show. Because as it turns out, a lot of us are running our financial lives from the perspective of a scared little kid who doesn't feel worthy of her parents' love or something like that, as opposed to, as an adult, making smart decisions. So, some of our financial lives are being run by a small, hurt little child, our child self. And so what we want to do is become aware of who's running the show, because it doesn't matter which financial software you use or what spreadsheet tracking system you use. If your financial life is being run by a scared 3-year-old or 5-year-old who feels unworthy of love, you're never going to follow through with any financial system. So that's why I don't teach financial systems, because at the end of the day, they don't matter if you're not doing the healing work, because you won't stick with them.
Right. You talk about our money legacy as well. And can you please tell us or explain further why is it important to be aware of what our money legacy is and how we can change it?
So we were all taught about money growing up. Some families didn't talk about it, which is an education in and of itself.
Yeah.
And some families talked about it. There was drama. There was usually it's an emotional topic, or maybe in your family it was something you were told not to talk about. So whatever it was, you learned something. And what often happens is that we were taught about money from our parents or from the culture that we grew up in, and maybe our parents really struggled, and they taught us that money was hard to come by, and that you just had to work harder and harder and harder to get it. And also maybe you grew up learning that wealthy people are greedy or not trustworthy or whatever. And so if you have those beliefs running your life, if you believe deep down that rich people are greedy, you're not going to allow yourself to invite abundance, because of course you wouldn't want to become a greedy person. So you really have to look at those beliefs and look at where they came from and pick and choose which ones are serving you and which ones are no longer serving you, and start to pay attention for when the ones that are no longer serving you come up, so that you can choose something new to focus on.
Great. And Kate, so you achieved financial freedom at age 28, which is awesome. But can you please tell us, what does financial freedom mean to you?
Yeah, so I have two definitions. One definition is financial freedom is when you have passive or residual income that exceeds your living expenses. And so passive or residual income could come from investments. It could come from businesses. It could come from online marketing, whatever it is. But I think everybody needs to be pursuing at least one stream of passive or residual income, which is why I love the network marketing industry, because it's such an easy way for an average person to start to build that. And then the other type of financial freedom is more energetic, and it's really having a loving relationship with your money, where it's based on love and abundance and feeling of expansion, as opposed to fear and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. I once heard Louise Hay say that it is easier to teach people about sexuality than it is to teach them about money, because we have so many beliefs attached to money. So, and I know you have been teaching workshops about this and talking about this for, to thousands of people. So, Kate, in your experience, how is it that people receive this information, and how much do we resist it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I find that, it's one of those things where when people are ready, then they're totally willing to open up to a new possibility. But our money stuff triggers us so deeply because it's such an emotional topic, because we earn money in exchange for the value we've provided. And so while the number in our bank account should certainly not be equal to our self-worth or to our inherent worth, there is something that gets tied up there. And so we can feel like when somebody is starting to stir the pot around our financial beliefs, especially around us taking more responsibility for our own financial lives, people get very triggered, because it starts to pop the top on feelings of a lack of self-worth, and that's deeply uncomfortable. And none of us really want to deal with that. And so I do find that it can get very emotionally charged. And so, yeah, it's an exciting thing to do.
Yeah, it is. It is very interesting. So for people watching, Kate, can you please, I know you have a lot of good tips or exercises that we can implement into our lives to start moving towards choosing self-love in relation to our money and finances. So can you please share one or two with us?
Sure. One of the things that's a really easy thing to switch right away is I talk about ways to infuse more fun and pleasure into your financial life. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways is you can rename your bills invoices for blessings already received, which feels really good, so that when you when you sit down to pay your bills, whether it's online or writing checks, you instantly feel a sense of gratitude for the blessings in your life, as opposed to feeling like, I have to pay these people, Right. For example, if you're paying your electricity bill, you signed up to have electricity, and it's really amazing that we get to have electricity. Mm-hmm. It really is incredible, all the things it does for us in our lives. And so from that place, you can pay your invoice for the blessing already received for having electricity for the previous 30 days, and pay that bill with gratitude, saying thank you to the electrical company for bringing this service into my life. So that's one thing that is simple. Yeah.
I love that one.
Teaches a lot. And then I also love, this one is from my friend Marie Forleo. I heard this one about a year ago, that when she was struggling financially, and she still does this today, when she pays for something, in her head, she would start saying, there's more where that came from.
Oh, so that's great.
I just love that mantra. It feels so expansive. Again, those are two simple things that you can start doing right away. Invoices for blessings already received, and there's more where that came from.
Great. Well, Kate, thank you so much first of all, for sharing your story with the world and with us, because we find a lot of value in listening, because people don't normally are as honest as you are with their money stories, and don't share it as widely as you do. And Kate also has in her website, katenorthurp.com, other stories about other people. So thank you so much for sharing, Kate, and doing it in such an honest way. And thank you so much for being here with us at Choose Positive. We love to have you here.
Thank you.
Me encantaría saber cuál ha sido tu experiencia o qué preguntas tienes. Por favor, déjanos un comentario aquí abajo. Y si te gustó este video, por favor, compártelo con tus familiares y amigos. La buena vibra es contagiosa. Muchas gracias por ser parte de Choose Positive. Soy Ale Hinojosa y nos vemos pronto.